Welcome to Someone's Gotta Drive. I want to make a trigger warning now about how this podcast deals with parental drug abuse, spousal drug abuse, domestic violence, and other types of harsh situations that may be validating but triggering to some. In my last podcast, I explained how I decided to become this traveling salesperson, making my way from Maryland to Michigan to Arizona and back. And when I came back that first night, I decided to spend the night at my what is now ex-mother-in-law's house. She wasn't too thrilled to see me, don't get me wrong. She felt like I had done her son dirty. But our goal was to start our life back together again and to try to make something of it, to help him thrive and get a better, job and position by getting into automotive school. And for me to continue to do marketing and sales in Maryland. My job was also to take care of my mom. Now that my parents were separating, someone had to take care of her, and she couldn't live in a house all by herself. I mean, it's why my family was calling me back to Maryland. So after that first night, I decided to go over to my parents' house and talk to my parents a bit with my ex-husband in tow. And, well, the game plan was that I would essentially stay with my parents, and my ex would stay with us as well while I helped them find a new house for my mother to live in. Why was I going to help? Well, honestly, I'm supposed to be living there too, so I didn't really exactly want to make sure that we were staying in some, mold-infested, horrible house. I wanted to make sure that it was going to be something livable, doable, and something that I wasn't going to have to keep repairing nonstop. Because let's be real, even though my parents were separating, and the plan was that we were supposed to be close enough for my dad to check in on us. The point was that my dad wanted to have his own life now. And I knew that. It was time for him to kind of spread his wings and not be burdened by us. So I anticipated that I would have to take on a lot of stuff when it came to the house. So we started looking for houses. And my mom had a VA loan with 0% interest, so that was what they were going to use. And my dad was going to pay the mortgage, and we were going to help my mom adjust and acclimate to what it was like not having a husband anymore. This was her fourth husband. She had never been without a man at any point in time in her life. But, well, now she's late 40s, early 50s. It's not, and lots of surgeries. It's not going to be easy for her to exactly find another man to come and take care of her. So we went out on the hunt. And while hunting for houses, I decided to go back to that marketing office that I was working for. Like, I can do this. I've done it before. I can do it again. There's a new owner. There's a new manager. They've heard about me, heard that my work is good, and said, why don't we put you in a management position, create a team, and let's see what you can do out there. So while I was trying to do that, but let's also remind you, that's not an hourly position. It's more commission. So while I was trying to do that and look for a house, I wasn't really making a lot of money. And decided to, you know what, this isn't for me. And my dad said to me, you know what, instead of working for nothing, why don't you just stop working and help me find a house, paint the house, do all those things. Don't worry about bills. You don't really have any. And don't worry about food. I'll feed you. Don't worry about that. Let's just get, this house situated. Like, okay. We did find a house. It was on foreclosure. But with that being said, it meant that we had some work that we had to do. Lots of paint, some siding, things like that for the VA to approve us to do it. And being it was a foreclosure and it was bank owned, the bank really didn't care as long as we just did the work. So that's what we did. We stayed up morning, noon, and night painting that house, getting siding on the shed out back, trying to get it up to snuff so that way the VA would approve it for a mortgage. And well, they did. And the day came, we had to move all of our stuff and my mom's out into this new house. And the arguments started. Mom wanted certain things that were nice, beautiful dining room set, their bedroom set, things like that. But I hate to tell you this, their bedroom set was not fitting in any of these rooms. These rooms were actually quite small. There's no way a king-size bedroom set was ever fitting in any of these rooms. And so my mom got, a little full-size set, antique. Beautiful nonetheless, but it just wasn't her, king-size bed set. But she got a nice little bathroom in her master bedroom. And downstairs, it was a bi-level. So my ex-husband and I could actually have our own level to ourselves. There was a bar, which of course my mother loved. And it was actually a very nice kind of open house. When we started living there, my dad would actually come over. Like it was his house, which I guess technically it kind of was. He was paying the mortgage. But he would come, hang out, fall asleep on the couch. And I remember my mom being really confused by it and saying to me, I just don't understand. I thought he wanted nothing to do with me. I thought he wanted to be separated. Why is he sleeping on my couch? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll talk to him. And that's what I did. Dad, I'm sorry. I hate to tell you this, but it's really confusing, Mom. You wanted a separation. I don't think it's really a good idea for you to come over, have dinner, fall asleep on the couch, and act like things just haven't changed, that only the house has. He's like, but I'm lonely. I understand that. Mom's lonely too. But you have a girlfriend. Call her over. Mom doesn't have a boyfriend, and she's really trying to figure out how to acclimate through all of this. And you're really kind of confusing her. Once the house was settled into, I started looking for work. And it was really hard because honestly, we didn't have mass transit. And the closest town to get any work was our county seat, which was still only 15 minutes away. I was able to find a marketing position for a local construction company, working part-time hours, making full-time pay, which I thought was kind of perfect for my ideal situation. I needed to take care of Mom during the day, and at night I would take about 4 hours, go to this office, make a few phone calls, try to get some salesmen in the front doors of some houses, and call it a night. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I was doing really good at it. And yeah, I was making full-time pay, working part-time hours. In the meantime, we also were signing my ex-husband up for college, for automotive school. We were really excited. We were starting new lives and we were doing everything right. Then one lovely day, and I believe it was a Saturday, I got a call at my office. I had always told my ex that if we were going to make this all work, that we needed to be truthful, honest, and transparent. I needed to make sure that he wasn't on drugs, and he wanted to make sure that I was committed. And I felt like working and doing everything I was doing and going back to being the perfect person, taking care of her parents, working, making sure he had money to get to school so he didn't have to work. I thought I was doing all the right things. And one day I get a call at work. And I'm like, yeah, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, why did you cheat on me? What are you talking about? Your mother told me you left me for another man. And I'm like, nope, that's not what I did. But he's like, well, there's nothing you can say that will change my mind. Your mother told me that you left me for another man. Now tell me why I shouldn't leave you right now. All of a sudden, it felt like my whole world came crashing down in front of me. Everything that I had done, I had wiped my 401k so he could get started in automotive school. I came back from Arizona to care for my family. And here they are, commiserating on a couch while I am busting my ass working. And all they're doing is just talking crap about me. That's not what I did. That's not how it went down. And now I'm having to explain myself while I'm at work. And I share an office with my boss. And I'm like, now is not the time to have this conversation. But I can tell you that's not how this went down. And he's like, well, you told me that we should be open and honest and that I can call you for anything at any time. So we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about this now. I was just in utter shock. I remember my boss looking at me going, is everything okay? And I was just like, well, I kind of have to be honest. No. And I explained, he was like, that's not a phone call you should be getting at work. And I'm like, well aware. And as you heard me on the phone tell him, now is not the time to talk about it. But yep, that's kind of how my day went. And it didn't exactly get better from there. From that moment on, it felt like my whole marriage, all I was trying to do was prove to him that all I wanted to do was right by him. All I wanted to do was the right thing. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't want the drugs. I don't want the drugs with my mom, but I kind of feel like I don't have a choice. I have to care for her. I didn't leave him for another man. I left him because he was on drugs. But you know what? When people are on drugs, they don't want to see that that's the reason behind a problem. They're always going to try to find something else. So started my life as someone who did nothing more than try to care for her mother, care for her husband, and work her ass off. That year, I remember putting together a birthday party for my sister. She hadn't had a birthday party all about herself in probably a decade at this point. And I remember putting a birthday party together for her. My dad came to it. It was great. For my ex-husband, I put a birthday party together for him. Got a bunch of friends of his from high school that he hadn't seen in a while and had this big blowout party. Once again, my dad came to that. And that year in particular, my mom's friend had come up from Alabama to help check on her to see how things were going. And honestly, I was struggling. Mom was trying to take however many pills whenever she wanted, however she deemed. So I tried my best to control the situation. I would have a safe in my bedroom. I had keys on each set of car keys that I had. I had 2 cars at the time. And so I went ahead and had keys on each set just in case my ex-husband had to take one of the cars and go to school. Even though we had designated cars, sometimes one didn't have gas or something, and his school was an hour and a half away. So if the other car had gas, I would just tell him, take that car, go ahead, and we'll swap again tomorrow. But every night when I would come home at 9 o'clock at night is what time I got out of work. So I'd be home by about 9:15, 9:30, and my mom would be eagerly waiting for her pills for the next day. For the next day. Let me be super clear about that. I never made sure that she went without her pills for that evening. So I would always go into my room, open the safe, give her her pills, and start up on my dinner. And so I realized after a few times that no, she wasn't taking her pills the way she should. Sometimes she was overdosing, and I was calling an ambulance to have her Narcan. I would put a new fentanyl patch on her back every 3 days. We always tried to put it in a place where she couldn't reach it. One time in particular, she had decided to lick her fentanyl patch, but we didn't know. I was getting ready for work. I put a new patch on her. My ex had already gone to school that day. I went to go check on her after swapping some purses and having gotten dressed. And at the time I was working 1 to 9. So I was working a little bit more full-time hours. It was around 12:30 that I go to knock on her door and say goodbye. But I'm not getting any answer. Knock again, and her door is locked on top of it all. I can't, there's something wrong. Something had to have happened. I thought she had a stroke or a heart attack because I just saw her 15 minutes ago. She was fine. I jimmy the door open, and there she is, slumped over in the corner of her bathroom. Lips are blue, fingertips are blue. And I'm just like, oh crap. So I call 911. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I explain to them. They come in. First thing the police officer wants to try to do is defibrillate her because her heartbeat was very, very weak. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. I just put a fresh fentanyl patch on her. It'll burn into her skin. And they're like, oh. And that's when they realize this looks like an overdose. Now, at the time, they couldn't give Narcan willingly. They had to call the hospital, get the approval from an ER doctor, and then administer the Narcan. So at this point, she's laying flat on the ground. Her pajama shirt had been ripped wide open, her chest bare for all the world to see because they were about to defibrillate her. And they get the okay from the ER doctor to give her Narcan. So they give her Narcan, and I have never seen someone come back to life so quick in my life. It completely freaked me out. At that moment, my mom said the same words that I'd never thought I'd hear again. Why did you save me? Why didn't you just let me die? What are you doing? I let the paramedics, the fire department, and the police department do what they had to do. I ran into the living room and bawled my eyes out, called my sister, who lived in Virginia at the time, and said, I need you to come here. I called work, called out, and said, I had to call 911 on my mom. I'm on my way to the hospital with her. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it in today. We knew that it was an overdose, obviously, because if not, the Narcan would not have worked. My dad and my sister all meet me at the hospital. I also call and leave a message for my ex-husband, letting him know what happened. And told him, well, you might as well just stay at school because she's at the hospital. There's nothing that you can really do. So, first thing that we decide to do is to go through her room and try to find what in the world could she have overdosed on. And honestly, to find out, it was, after much digging, it was old fentanyl patches. The old fentanyl patch that I had taken off of her that day, she cut up and took whatever liquid that was still in it and said she smeared it on her arm to see what it would feel like. But we learned at a later date and time that honestly, she was licking them. We were just in utter shock. But at the same time, during the search of her room, we found that she was hoarding other pills so she could take them whenever she felt like. We found that she was licking the fentanyl patches. We found liquor bottles. Nothing had changed. And my dad just looked at me and said, well, not my problem anymore. We found the source, we found the situation. But this is all on you guys. And so I had said, went to my mom, took her the evidence and said, so, drugs, again. Not for nothing. I know that they're prescribed to you, but now you're licking fentanyl patches? What the hell? And she was like, you just don't understand. No, I don't. But what I do understand is that it's my job to take care of you. And when you asked me again, why is it that I did not let you die? Why did I let you live? Why did I call for help? Because if I let you die, I could get charged with neglect, with potential manslaughter. I can't just let you die. That's my job, is to take care of you. You are literally a walking death wish. And if you want me to come back home to you, you have to go into rehab. She was like, but I said, no buts. You either go into rehab or you never see me again. And she said, okay, fine, I'll go into rehab. So I go to my dad's house, go over his insurance policy because she was on his insurance policy. And we start talking about how we're going to get her into rehab. We start making phone calls, 2-week waits. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm doing all the things. I was paying my dad rent, $400 a month to stay there because the mortgage was a little beyond his means. I was working a full-time job, trying to take care of my mom. My ex didn't have to work because I was working the full-time job. I gave him an allowance every week and made sure that there was gas in the car, food in his belly, all our bills were paid on top of an allowance. He had access to our joint bank account. There were times I was making $1,300 a week. I wasn't doing bad, not at that point in time. But if you wanted to see me around to care for my mom, she had to go into rehab, and he couldn't argue with it. So my mom had promised she would go into rehab. She said that to the doctors too. And they said, okay, while your daughter's in the process of getting you into rehab, we'll go ahead and discharge you. There's nothing more we can do for you here. So I bring my mom home and I ask my dad, do you think I could come and stay with you for a little while until mom gets into rehab for the 2 weeks? I can't keep doing this. And his answer to me was, nope. So let me get this straight. You're not going to help me here? No. You're going to have to stay there. And then I get home and I said to my mom, all right, so here's the list of rehabs in the area. And she said, rehab? I'm not going to rehab. But you promised. Yeah, I promised. I said what I had to say and do to get out of the hospital. But if you think that I'm going to sober up just for you, you got another thing coming, kid. I'm never going to do that. My heart just broke. You're not going to sober up for your kid. You made promises that you're not going to keep. And if anything, you're telling me that you're just going to keep doing this. Yep, that's exactly it. And I would sit on the couch and watch Intervention on A&E, hoping and praying that maybe one day some of this would get through to her. And I remember her coming up to me and going, if you think I'm going to go through an intervention and go to some rehab facility and get sober, you've got another thing coming. And I remember sitting down with my sister and saying, I did all the things. I'm doing everything right. And she said, yep. A few years ago when I caught her snorting 210 milligrams of Oxycontin a day before she had her surgery, that's exactly what happened then too. Same shit, different day. I just couldn't believe it. I thought we had gotten past all that. But nope, we hadn't gotten past that. We were starting it all over again.